mystery theory. Welcome to the first video I filmed in 2019. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you so much for the support last year, and I hope that you stick around in this 2019. Today we're gonna talk about the case of Brittney Nicole Wood. This is an unsolved mystery, and I've heard about this story. I thought I knew what happened, and while I was doing the research, I found out that there was a piece of information that I didn't have. So I'm gonna give you all that information in this video. And it is a very sad case because it involves children being abused, and it involves a lot of traumatic experiences. So if you do not like to hear about it, this would be the best time that you can exit this video. But I thought it's important to remember Brittney, remember her story, and spread the word. So Brittney was born on September 25th, 1992. She was from Mobile, Alabama. And even though we do not know a lot of information for her childhood, I did find some, but it wasn't official, coming from somebody in the family or from the police. I still managed to find two things that have been reported. When she was 9 years old, her step-grandfather went to jail. He was abusing Brittney, again, when she was 9. And I am not sure that he was caught the first time, so maybe this was an ongoing thing, which can leave a lot of scars, especially when it's something in a family, somebody that as a child you should trust. I bet that was one of the hardest things that she had to go through as a little girl. However, she grew up to be a beautiful young girl, and by her, I think that she delivered her baby. She became a mom when she was 17, so I don't know if that's when she got pregnant or when she had her little daughter. I've heard mixed things. Some people say that Brittney had the custody of the little girl, and some other people say that the father had the custody. According to official records, the police records, at the time that Brittney disappeared, the baby girl was in the dad's custody, and he lived with his parents. He was also a teen in the city, in the same place, in the same area. Now, Brittney was last seen on May 30th, 2012, and she was on her way to go visit her uncle. At the time, she was 19 years old, and she decided to go visit Donald Paul Holland Sr. I'm going to call him Donald for short. Witnesses did see her get in his car, and he was going to drive her to his house. She didn't have a car at the time, so she accepted the ride, and she decided to go to his house. Now this we know because of some witnesses that place her there, but also because of the cell towers that pin her phone to the specific towers that are along the way from her house to Baldwin County. That is where her uncle lived. Now, sadly, this is the last time that she was seen alive. And sadly, she wasn't even reported missing on May 30th. It had to happen something the next day. So believes that she was missing. Now I have to say before I tell you what happened the next day, that Donald, the uncle, was a piece of work. He was being investigated by the police because he was accused back in February of that same year of sexually abusing a little girl in the family. He knew that he was being investigated, and Brittney did know that he was being investigated as well. So it wasn't really a secret. Why would Brittney would want to go to this guy's house knowing that he's being investigated for that? Why would she accept a ride? That is the question that a lot of people have. But what I found out recently, and I didn't know, is that after she was reported missing, which I'm kind of going ahead a little bit, the stepmom, Brittney's stepmom, not the mother, but the stepmom, showed the police a Facebook private message where a female family member contacted Brittney and told her that she was being raped by 3 guys. So maybe this was an ongoing thing, and that these 3 guys are from the same family. So now we know that 3 days before Brittney disappeared, she found out that this female family member that she loved was being abused by 3 guys in their own family. Donald was believed to be the leader. So now it kind of makes sense that she maybe wanted to talk to this guy. But another piece of evidence that I didn't know existed is that she was carrying a gun, and she has been for a while, even before she decided to go and meet her uncle. She was carrying a gun for her protection. And it was also said that she was heavily involved in drugs. How does that affect it? I really can't tell, but it's information that you should know. Now, you see, this Donald guy wasn't the only one in the family being investigated. There were about 12 people in the same family and friends of this family being investigated at the time. So as you can probably tell, this was a much bigger scheme than they thought at first, and Brittney would be a key witness in case that they were going to be charged. And so it's kind of interesting, and it kind of plays into the story, the fact that Brittney was the one that was going to be questioned next by the police, and the one that was more than likely going to report something. And if she did know about her female family member being abused, her going to visit the uncle that was supposed to be the leader, herself carrying a gun, it adds to the story. That's all I'm gonna say. But then at the end, I'm gonna give you all the theories. Now, on June 1st, the next day, she hasn't been reported missing yet. But the next day, the police find the uncle's truck, Donald, and Donald was inside the truck overlooking a body of water. I think it was a river, a fish river or a fish lake, I'm not sure. But they found him with he was shot in the head, and the police immediately reported it as a suicide. Now, this suicide was also kind of interesting because of being it wasn't the regular place where people would do that. I hate to talk about this, but apparently he shot himself in the back of one of the ears, which also kind of points to the direction that maybe he was shot by somebody else. But there's no evidence that, there's no fingerprints, anything that kind of tells the police that somebody else did it. But it did look very suspicious. Now, at the time, Donald's wife, Wendy, she was looking for Donald because apparently he was very depressed and he was saying that he was going to commit suicide. Okay. That is when they realized that Brittney was missing. And she was officially reported missing on June 2nd. Now, inside the truck, they found the gun, of course, that he took his life with, and a battery, a cell phone battery, that belonged to Brittney. I also read online, but I'm not 100% sure, that the gun that he used to take his life was Brittney's gun. Again, this is something that I cannot find in official records by the police. This is something that I read on the newspaper, but it's kind of suspicious that they found the gun and Brittney's cell phone, not charger, but battery, when they found at the same time that they found the body. Now, when they found Donald, he was still alive. Go figure. And they took him to the hospital, but he later on died at the hospital. At this point, the police believed that she was taken against her will and that she was probably killed. It wasn't that long after the police believed that she was dead. So even though they did look for her, something that the police know that maybe we don't, pointed to the direction that she was probably dead. Now, her mom believed that something terrible happened to her. It was, some people would theorize that she went to kill her uncle and whatever, that something happened and maybe she got killed and then he took his own life, or maybe that, she killed him and ran away. But the mother believes that she would never leave her daughter behind, and that definitely something was really wrong, and that she was probably either being kept by somebody against her will or was killed by somebody there. Now, in July 2012, the same year after Brittney disappeared, 11 people were arrested after they conducted this investigation that also included Donald. After all the investigation, the police concluded that it's been 3 generations of abuse in the family. These members of the family were charged with rape, incest, sodomy, and child pornography. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna give you some names and I'm gonna give you some examples of these people. Now, one of the arrested ones was Derek Thomas, which was Brittney's older brother. Scott Wood and Dustin Alden Kent, which both were uncles of Brittney. Dustin's wife, which was her aunt Mandy Kent. Jennifer Gonzalez, which was a friend of the family. Donald Paul Holland Jr. Does that sound familiar? That's the son of Donald, the one that took his life. He was senior, and this is junior, so this was Brittney's step cousin. Wendy Wood, which is Brittney's aunt, and I have to say, this Donald uncle was the guy that married Wendy, and Wendy was Brittney's sister. So in fact, she was her aunt, and Donald was Brittney's mom, and she was accused of having sex with a younger female, or I don't know, she was found guilty, but she was one of the 11 that were charged, months after Brittney disappeared. Now, just so you have an idea, this wasn't just a big investigation and they were arrested, with some circumstantial evidence. Derek, Scott, and Dustin, they all pleaded guilty. Wendy, which was Donald's wife, the one that took his own life, she was convicted on December 2014, so it did take 2 years, but she was charged with the most: child abuse, sodomy, sex, torture, and she got 219 years with no possibility of parole. Now, she had a lot of witnesses that pointed to her, that cried on the stand, and you can see how much evil she did. So I can only wonder what Donald was doing. Now, the rest of them, the ones that I haven't mentioned, were going to be offered a plea in exchange for information of Brittney's whereabouts. Now, Brittney's mom, Jessie, she said that she was wrong. She didn't do it. Basically, she was innocent, and that she had no idea what was going on in her own family until after the fact that Brittney disappeared. I find it very hard to believe because sexual abuse was reported to the authorities throughout the years, and maybe there wasn't enough evidence to convict. I don't understand how CPS was involved after what happened with her step-grandfather, and a lot of things were being overlooked. I'm assuming that it was because of lack of evidence, but just so you know, the victims were about 11 to 16. So 11 to 16 family members of this entire family, the Wood family, and kind of the new one that they adopted with the Hollands. 16 of them were being abused, and most of them were kids, as young as 3 to 4 years old. And for them, they would start by making them watch that apparently were drug fueled. That's how they are described. So, after all this, Brittney is still missing, but thankfully, all the kids that were being abused were sent away to either family members that lived away or people that they knew were innocent. And the ones that weren't that lucky to find a family member that would take care of them, they were placed in the foster care system. It's such a sad story. I can't believe that it took Brittney disappearing for this to just finally explode. And anyways, the theories are pretty much that she knew too much, and that Donald, being the leader of the sex thing in this sick family, he took her life, and he probably dropped her body in the river where she was eaten by alligators. That is one of the most known probable thing that happened. There are some other theories that say, well, maybe Brittney did get out, and maybe she did run away. She killed Donald and she ran away. But there's no physical evidence that would point to that direction. And the last theory, and the one that I think that it makes more sense, and again, this is allegedly, because because everybody is innocent until proven guilty, is the theory that the one that actually killed her was Wendy, her own aunt, by blood. As you can see, she was the one that got the worst punishment out of everyone involved in this case. So it's possible that she didn't. That she killed Brittney because she didn't want to get caught, and maybe Brittney went to confront them and say, hey, leave this person alone, don't send this guy to go rape her every day, or every once in a whatever. Maybe she did go to that family member and the things went really bad, and Wendy did end up, we don't know, it's just a theory, and it's all allegedly. So is that a possibility? I guess so, but even if she was given some kind of a plea deal, she didn't accept, or she didn't confess to anything or knowing anything about Brittney. I find it also very interesting that an evil man like Donald would feel bad enough that he would take his own life because of Brittney, or because of, doing something to Brittney. I don't think that's the case. A lot of people believe that that's the case, but I can't believe that's the truth. How can somebody that's abusing little kids care if he had to get rid of a niece that is not really even a blood, niece by blood? I think it was more of a three thing, people involved in this: Wendy, Donald, and Brittney. And Donald and Brittney, Brittney disappeared and Donald died, and the one that's still alive is Wendy. So it's a possibility. But I think that if Donald in fact took his own life, it's probably because of something Brittney said that the police knew, or that they reported to the police to incriminate him. And maybe he got too scared. He didn't want to deal with the consequences of going to jail and what would happen to him in jail, because you're not a kid raper and then go to jail and have a fun time with your pals there. You either have to go on solitary so people don't kill you inside the prison, or, which sucks, or you just have to deal with the guys that are in jail but are not as crappy as you are of a person. Committing crimes against children, I think it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made or how much you screwed up your life. It's just one of those things that not even the guys in jail can put up with, and nobody should. I think they're sick individuals. I truly believe so. I hate to judge people, but I don't know. There's something really wrong in your head. There's something really wrong inside of you, and I mean, no, we don't know where Brittney is. We know she was trying to do the right thing. We know that she was trying to be the better person. And then all of a sudden, nothing is making sense. So yeah, they capture everyone. The investigation was successful. But now, we don't know what really happened to Brittney. And I hope we find out what really happened. I hope that one day somebody says something, because somebody knows what happened. How they were covering 3 generations of abuse, it's beyond my understanding. Beyond. But if they could hide it for 3 generations, those kids in 3 different generations, I think that they can keep a secret. What do you think happened to Brittney? Do you think that she was actually running away? Do you think that she went with the idea to get rid of Donald? And maybe, possibly even the wife? Do you think the wife did it? Do you think Donald was actually a suicide? I would love to know what you think about this case. This very sad, sad case. So, that was it for today's case. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I will see you back with a new video this week. Bye, guys.